I'm a professor in the English department, and I've been teaching here for 20 years now. So a lot of background in face-to-face teaching until the pandemic. And I taught my very first asynchronous class actually over the summer in June. I taught two sections of an IDP class that I had had a lot of help putting together for a whole year, from a wonderful asynchronous program and also really incredible mentors and a design team. So something I developed in all of these classes, and I have them do this for everything, and it involves video replies where I've used discussion posts even since I was a graduate student and we were handwriting them, but I've always had this asynchronous component to my classes, even face to face, where the students make discussion posts and writing about the reading every week. And so that's huge in my classes. So the asynchronous classes, they continue to do that. But in these cases, and for everything they did asynchronously in all of the classes, I had them choose one student a week. They'd read each other's posts. One student a week they would make a video reply to. In the video reply, I required, and I say this in my introductory video to them, and I also say this in the instructions, and I also say this in the rubric, they are required to compliment the other student. That's the first thing they have to do. So I feel like in complimenting each other all the time and in being complimented all the time, that enthusiasm that they may be attributing to me may actually be coming from them. But it was part of the course setup, and I did that because I knew I wouldn't be present in real life to generate positive energy the way whatever I do in real life was happening. I wasn't there, so I incorporated this in so that that might happen on its own, and it really did help. So the students in their evaluations also talked about these interactive videos, and they talked about getting to know the other people's comments, and they talked about being really connected. And I think the video replies, again, I've heard a lot more comments than are visible here because I make a course reflection mandatory, so all students do them. So I've seen a lot of comments, and I do know that they very frequently mention the video replies. We're really liking them. In terms of the instructions, I have the instructions on the screen here that for an example of one of these posts for one of these classes, where what they have to write, how long it has to be, there's a rubric for all of this, and then how they have 48 hours to make a video reply. I do post my entire class for a semester or for the summer. I post the entire class right before it starts. So they are also able to get ahead if they need to, something else that they actually liked. In terms of the rubrics, this is just the rubric for the video replies, where I tell them that they're being graded on number one, they have to be warm, they have to compliment the other student. And number two, they have to also talk about questions that the students post made them think about. So it's not just complimenting, they have to take it somewhere further. They're also able to choose which student they reply to, and they have to choose a different student a week. I also then went ahead and wrote my own discussion post, and I put up some YouTube clips along with it, since I know often students like doing that. And then I made my own video reply to myself, where I complimented what I'd said in my post, but where I also related it to literary criticism and something we were doing in my other class. And I noticed throughout all of the classes I've taught that video that I made, I've noticed turns of phrase that I used in it being used by all of my students. So I think that they imitated my own video. And this is one reason that they were making the videos as I wanted them to be, because they were kind of had a chance to watch it. I tell them my video is imperfect. I tell them that I'm talking too softly, that it was late at night, that the lighting is wrong, but I tell them that's okay, that I want them not to be intimidated, not to feel like they have to make a professional video, that we just want to see them in real life as they are. And I think that that kind of lowers their anxiety. And even though they might be a little anxious at first about these videos, at the end, they very often say they were one of their favorite aspects of the classes. I also find that something I try to do in asynchronously that I don't do in real life in this way, but I want to build up that I have authority to the students who have no idea who I am. But at the same time, I don't want to intimidate them. I want them to feel like I will, like, more I'm at everyone's level, or I want to learn from them. And so I often intentionally will insert certain statements of vulnerability along with statements of authority. I did this just in watching the videos. When I had made a video about all of the books I'd published or things I'd done in the field, it sounded to me a little bit like bragging, and I didn't like the tone. So I remade the video and I inserted a statement. In certain classes I might say, oh, the reason I wrote my first book on poetry is because when I was 3 or 4 years old, I failed a draw a man test, and I still draw the man the same way now that I drew it when I was 3 or 4, and I was held back a year in school. But this has to do with the fact that I had a really hard time learning how to handwrite, and that's why I started writing poetry as a really small child, because I didn't need to write very many words. And that's why I associate poetry with silence. And this is connected to our class because we're doing a class on fairy tales, we're on children's lit, and so I associate fairy tales with my earliest childhood. And I'll just give some reason for why I'm saying this, but I put that statement of vulnerability in on purpose to try to make it seem like Yeah, just and I do that in other places in the class too to try to make the students more comfortable.